Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here at Hostos Community College. I just want to thank our friend, the president, Dr. David Gomez, for hosting us here. Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to be here once again at this campus with our governor to announce another great initiative. But before I get to that, I just want to make some go through some acknowledgments here today. We are joined by our colleagues in government. State Senator Gustavo Rivera is with us here today. La gran luchadora, who had a lot to do with making sure that Hostos is the institution that it is today, la asambleísta Carmen Arroyo. The chairman of the Bronx Democratic Party, Assemblyman Marco Crespo. Assemblyman Jose Rivera, who's with us here today. Assemblyman Michael Blake is with us here today as well. Assemblyman Victor Pichardo. Councilman Rafael Salamanca. Assemblyman Michael Benedetto. Councilman Jimmy Vaca. We are also joined by Counsel to the Governor, Alfonso David. The Chief Diversity Officer, Rose Rodriguez. Commissioner of the Department of Labor of the State of New York, Roberta Reardon. And Commissioner of OTDA, Sam Roberts. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be here with our good friend, Governor Cuomo, as he talks about a new initiative that is going to do great things, not only for the Bronx, but for the entire state of New York. Many of you know, those of you who are in this room, that since I became the Bronx Borough President 7 years ago, while there were so many challenges in front of us, the one thing that I really wanted to concentrate on was economic development and job creation. So many of you here, whether you're educators, the Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation with Marlene Cintrón as its president, so many of you who have invested in our borough have been a part of this movement, is what I call it. I say that because over the last 7 years since becoming the Bronx Borough President, our unemployment rate has gone from 14.2% to the latest numbers of 6.1%. The total number of Bronxites employed has also remained high. We are above 567,000 Bronxites who are working. In other words, since I became the borough president, over 100,000 more Bronxites are working today than 7 years ago. You can't deny the fact that we are in the midst of an economic renaissance, from thriving commercial corridors to neighborhoods like the Port Morris section of the Bronx, to Mott Haven, to Kingsbridge, to so many others. We are creating jobs. We are creating economic development right here in our borough. And for that, we thank the governor. We are grateful to our governor for your continued support, Mr. Governor, and commitment to helping the Bronx thrive. You've been a leader in raising the minimum wage, a national leader in raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. It is important that that partnership that you have with our speaker, who, by the way, is also from the Boogie Down Bronx, Carl Hasty, is strong, and we thank you for that because so many Bronxites and New Yorkers are going to benefit from that. The record investments that the two of you have shown leadership in terms of investing in our school system, in our higher education institutions, the millions of dollars in housing. Here in the Bronx alone, over 24,000 units of housing in the last 7 years alone. And much of that investment has come from the state of New York. Locally, some of our big economic engines like the Hunts Point market, the produce market, the millions of dollars that you've invested there, Mr. Governor, is something that we appreciate. The capital investment in infrastructure, in the MTA, record highs, to transform our transportation system, and doing that while you also prioritize our 4 Metro North stations right here in the Bronx. It's something that we're grateful for. Simply put, Mr. Governor, you have been relentless. You've been a visionary in your pursuit of progress, not just for the state, not just for the region, but for our beloved Bronx. Since I've been elected the last 20 years, whether they've been Republicans or Democrats, in Albany or in the city of New York, we've been shortchanged. And it wasn't until Governor Andrew Cuomo came along that the Bronx also feels like it's part of that. And as we create jobs, and as we create economic development, we have to do it in a way where no one is left behind. And so programs such as the Strike Force and this new initiative for at-risk youth, which is the announcement that the governor is going to make here today, are essential to not only prepare our kids with the necessary skill sets that they're going to need, resumes that they're going to need for their professions and their careers, but we all know that if you give a youth a job, especially around the summer months, they're less likely to get in trouble by doing something out there in the streets. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the 56th governor of the great state of New York, our friend, our partner, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Beautiful morning. It's great to be at Hostos Community College, which is just such a great facility and has helped so many and is only getting stronger, and we're going to make sure it continues to get stronger. So let's give our host at Hostos a round of applause. It's a pleasure to be back in the Bronx. A lot of memories for me and a lot of connections with the Bronx. I built a lot of housing in the Bronx at one time. I ran a not-for-profit called HELP, and we built low-income housing, homeless housing all over the Bronx. I went to Fordham College, and my first campaign experience was I was the Bronx campaign manager for Mario Cuomo running against Ed Koch in 1977, believe it or not. I grew up in Queens. I'm a Queens boy. So you had that little Queens-Bronx competition. You know, there was always a little Queens-Bronx competition. Sports, we had a little Queens-Bronx competition, basketball, baseball, who had the better teams. It was a feeling back at the time that some of the young ladies in the Bronx preferred dating Queens boys, and I know that created a little tension, but it goes way back, and it's a long tradition. The competition continues, I want you to know. Sports competition, a little older, but it still continues. We now have an annual rafting competition, actually, where we go to the top of the Hudson River and we have a big rafting competition where we have 6 people in a raft. We have a dead-out sprint race. It tests strength, tests stamina, and people who are really confident in their ability step up and they take the challenge. Now, just a fact, for 6 years, I've been saying to Borough President Diaz, why don't you come to the challenge? You know, young, hi, Borough President Ruben Diaz. I worked out this morning. bigger guns than a battleship. I said, I know, why don't you bring those guns up to the challenge? Well, I'm busy, you know, I have an event. 6 years. 6 years. Speaker Carl Hastie, I'm working out, I got big guns too, like the battleship in the Bronx. 6 years, come to the challenge, come to the challenge. We'll give you a head start, you know. Whatever it takes, have confidence. 6 years they haven't come. Now, I don't want to say anything, but might be a coincidence, busy for 6 years. People are busy. But this coming Sunday is going to be the 7th year. And they're either going to be there or they are not going to be there. That's all I'm saying. Let's give a big round of applause to Borough President Ruben Diaz. And I'll tell you the truth, the borough president is such a rising star. He has been doing such a beautiful job. He's a personal friend. He has been for a long time, and it's just a pleasure to see him rise and see him bring the Bronx with him. So another round of applause for the borough president. To Senator Serrano, who you will hear from in a moment, he is, again, a long-time friend, family friend, a lot of parallels between what the senator is trying to do and the legacy he's fulfilling and what I'm trying to do and the legacy I'm fulfilling. Senator Serrano, pleasure to be with you. And to your speaker, Carl Hastie, who was really put in a very, very difficult situation. Being the Speaker of the Assembly is a tough, tough job. Being the Speaker of the Assembly in this environment is extraordinarily tough because this is an anti-government, angry time. You know, if you are in government today, you may as well have a bullseye on your back. You know, people are just angry. And to become the Speaker on 20 minutes notice and step into that position was almost impossible. He has done a phenomenal, phenomenal job. Now, government, we're in government. Not that it pays a lot of money, not that you get a lot of credit on a daily basis, but government does one thing for you. It gives you the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. And that is everything for those of us who are in public service. It doesn't mean you will make a difference in people's lives. You can fail, but it says it's going to give you the opportunity to try to make a difference in people's lives. And to me, government is all about action. It's all about getting things done. My grandfather, God rest his soul, when a politician came on TV and he started to talk, my grandfather went like this. Meaning all they do is talk. That's all they do is that's what politicians do, they talk. They don't get anything done. The cynicism that is out there now among people towards politics, you see it through the presidential elections, you see it everywhere. The cynicism, the anger is, I need help, I'm in trouble, and government isn't doing enough to help me. And I'm now angry at government too, because government was supposed to be the solution. Government became part of the problem. Gridlock in Washington, they can't even get a budget passed. Albany, we want to be the exact opposite. Albany, we want to be about action. And we'll put the politics aside and we'll put the finger pointing aside for action, to actually make a difference in someone's life, concretely, not in the abstract. Concretely, your life is better because of what the New York State government did. That's what it's about. Now, the unemployment issue. The unemployment issue, to me, is everything. It's like when you go to the doctor and you have high blood pressure. And that sets up a flare. And the doctor says, hold on, you have high blood pressure. Something is wrong, and something is not sustainable. You cannot sustain high blood pressure. Could be a combination of things, but it's a problem. High unemployment rate, high youth unemployment rate. That is a problem. The social body has a problem that is unsustainable. People need work. People need hope. People need opportunity. People have to make a living. People have to feel like they can make a living. People have to feel that there's a tomorrow and that there's progress. There have to be role models of people who get an education and get a job and are progressing. And when you see that unemployment number up, that's high blood pressure. That's a problem. Bronx had the highest number in the state of New York. Period. Highest unemployment rate in the state of New York. Period. Upstate New York, Buffalo, had the worst problem. We went to work in Buffalo, and we went to work in the Bronx. Why? Because you need government most in the places that need the most help. And in downstate New York, that was the Bronx. And we did something never done before. We put everyone together, and we said, we're going to put together a strike force, and we're going to attack this on all fronts. Because unemployment is all of the above. Failure in education. And we do have a failure in education. We still have failing schools year after year after year after year. Failure in job training. Failure to attract the jobs to the places where the people are. Failure to attract and connect people to the jobs wherever they are. Discrimination. It's not a coincidence that the unemployment is higher among black and brown. Discrimination in finding jobs. So we put together a strike force to attack all of the above. First time ever done. And we put everyone together. State, county, private sector, Morgan Stanley to help us find jobs, OTDA, Department of Labor, education, everything together. So there are no excuses, and everybody's together on one task force. And it worked. It worked extraordinarily well. When the borough president gets up here and says, unemployment went from 14% to 6%, do you know how dramatic that is? Do you know what a change that is? How many lives he's affected? That changes the whole dynamic of the borough. People are working. Changes the neighborhoods, changes the chemistry, changes the role models. It is an amazing, transformative accomplishment. And it does work with the other tangible accomplishments that we have managed to achieve this legislative session. When they write the history books, and you take a look at what we did in Albany this legislative session, I believe it's one of the most productive sessions in modern history. $15 minimum wage. That means a family goes from making $18,000 a year to $30,000 a year. That is a big difference. Paid family leave, best program in the United States of America. More funding for education than ever in the history of the state of New York. Almost $10 billion in education money to New York City. Almost half of the New York City budget now comes from the state. And the state's funding has increased at a higher rate than the city's funding for education. 18 community schools in the Bronx that finally realize it's not just about the teacher in the classroom, it's about getting all those services into the school so you can actually make a difference. Attacking the problem of heroin and opioid abuse, you see again in the newspapers today how terrible that is. best breast cancer screening program in the United States. Now free breast cancer screenings for women, zero payment. $27 billion for the MTA, 4 train stations in the Bronx that are going to physically transform the Bronx because the commute will be better than ever, and you're going to see people coming in. So a lot of good work. And the unemployment rate, the blood pressure is down. And the youth unemployment rate is down. And that, to me, is what's the most troubling. It's close to 40% unemployment among black and brown youth. And that is just a sign of trouble. If you have young people who are not working, they have a lot of time on their hands, they need money, no good things can come of that. No good things. So the strike force primarily focused not just on unemployment, but youth unemployment. And we're very proud of the 14 to 6, but we're not done. And we won't be done until that 6 is 0. And by the way, it will never be 0, so we will keep trying because our goal is literally everybody who wants a job has a job. We're going to have 3 more initiatives that we're going to add to the strike force that we're announcing today that will make an even greater difference. First, for the summer jobs, as you heard from the borough president, having youth employed during the summer months when they're off from school is very important. They can learn skills, they can stay off the street. We're going to provide $16 million to employ 11,000 young people this summer in a summer youth job program. We are starting a pre-apprentice training program. We are creating construction jobs. The state is doing more construction than it has done in 50 years. These are good jobs. These are high-paying jobs, but you need to know how to be an electrician. You need to know how to be a carpenter. The salaries are good, but you need to get into the apprentice program. So our funding of a pre-apprentice program is going to provide those skills for the labor unions and provide young people with good jobs. We're starting that today also. And what we call our urban youth job credit program, which has worked extraordinarily well, where we say to a private employer, we will provide you $5,000 as a stipend to hire a young person and give them training. You pay them, you give them a job, they're working for you full-time, they're employed at least 6 months, the employer gets a $5,000 stipend, and the young person gets a job, gets skills, gets a career. We're going to fund that to the tune of double what we funded before, $50 million, and that's going to make a difference. So with everything we've done before, with these 3 new programs, we're very excited about what the future holds, and it's going to build on the success and the amazing success that we've had thus far. I mentioned the Bronx Queens competition growing up. I want to be 100% honest and straightforward. In the drop in unemployment rate over the past few years, Brooklyn has come down 5 points. Queens has come down 4.6 points. But the Bronx wins by dropping unemployment 5.3%. So what's right is right. We have in this state today more private sector jobs than have ever existed in history, 7.9 million jobs. Overall, the state's economy is stronger than it has ever been. But the strongest economy is the economy that brings opportunity to every corner of the state. The greatest feast is the feast enjoyed by the most. And until this state brings opportunity to every impoverished community, every minority, every corner of this state that has been long overlooked, our job is not done. And that's why we're here today, and that's why we're making the progress we're making today. Thank you, and God bless you.
Wow, how do you follow that? I just want to say thank you. My name is State Senator Jose Serrano. I have the good fortune of representing this wonderful community in the State Senate, and it's such an honor and a privilege to be speaking here today and to be with my friend the Governor and Borough President Diaz and all of the elected officials and friends who are here today to talk about something that is so intrinsically important to our community. I love this community. I was born in 1972, not far from here. I live blocks from here, and I'm old enough to remember, and the Borough President and Speaker Heastie and all of us are old enough to recall a community that was, for many ways, left in shambles. And it was a community that really needed a major amount of help. We see a commitment from this governor that we've never seen before. And the changes that we see now really help all of us, or everyone who thought they knew the Bronx, to reimagine what it is today. So the governor has shown amazing ability to see the transformative effect of possibilities in communities throughout the state. We see that upstate, we see that with his commitment to state parks, we see that with his commitment to helping communities revitalize. But there is, I believe, with all due respect to Buffalo, no better shining example of how those policies have made such a turnaround as here in the Bronx. And I want to just congratulate you and thank you for that, and thank all the pioneers like Carmen Arroyo and Jose Rivera who have been working so hard for decades to see this day, and we have so much yet to do. And on a personal note, as a child growing up in this community, and Ruben and I have spoken about this, wondering why can't we have nice things? Why should other communities have growth and we don't? Why don't we have the better parks? Why don't we have the better facilities and the cultural institutions and things of that nature? And when Borough President Diaz and I were in PS 31 in the 1970s and 80s, we saw a community that was very different. So now we see the elected officials and everyone coming together to help transform this community. Instead of asking why can't we have better things, we see through the Strike Force initiative, through many of the implementations that the governor has put in place, have really made a difference. A couple of statistics. The governor has worked tirelessly to connect at-risk youth with well-paying jobs, employing more than 8,000 Bronxites in a variety of industries, including retail, finance, insurance, and more. Since 2011, the Summer Youth Jobs Program, critically important program, which connects teens with summer employment opportunities, has provided almost 12,000 young adults from low-income families in the Bronx with valuable work experience in nursing homes, summer camps, child care centers, and other organizations. This summer alone, 2,500 Bronx teens will benefit from the programs and develop the critical skills that will serve them well as they pursue their future education and career goals. Really, I believe that the future has never been brighter than it is today. I feel very fortunate to work with a fantastic governor, someone who I've known for many years, someone who my dad worked wonderfully with your father, the late great Mario Cuomo. And it really does show that when you work together and the relationships that are so important in the world of government, we can't do this alone. So I'm just critically thankful to the Borough President, to the Governor, to the Speaker for making this a reality. Now I have the treat of bringing up the next speaker, someone who I view as a friend. This is a person who is easily one of the hardest working people in government, but without a doubt, the smartest person working in government, and that is the Speaker of the New York State Assembly, Carl Heastie.
So, good morning. Let me work my way backwards. Well, first, let me thank all of my Assembly colleagues. A lot of the work that the Governor mentioned that the Assembly is undertaking, we couldn't have done that without the wonderful team, and I know that the borough president acknowledged them all, but again, I do want to mention again Mike, Victor, Carmen, and Jose, and Marcos. Can't forget the county chair. So like I said, let me work my way backwards. When I was county chair, and I've often said this about Senator Serrano, he was one of the easier people whenever I said, you know, as the county organization, we need to do something. Marco was always, okay, Mr. Chairman, whatever you wanted. And he has that type of personality of being a team player. So Marco, I just want to personally thank you, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I continue to work my way backwards, and the borough president spoke, and for those of you who heard me say this before, you know, when he was an assembly member as well, remember our offices used to be next door to each other. We used to sit next to each other on the floor. And it was maybe 2005 or 6, somewhere around there. It was a day after session, and he and I sat in his office and we complained about the frustration that we had, that the Bronx was always first in everything bad and last in everything good. So I'm so happy to see him now as borough president, ushering the Bronx away from those two dynamics that I just described, because we want to make sure that the Bronx becomes first in everything good and last in everything bad. So I just want to thank the borough president for that. And to the governor, you know, he starts out by saying that Ruben and I haven't gone to the challenge. What he ends up doing is, I tell him the days that I have that are busy, and then he decides to have the challenge on that day. So then he could say that I don't come. But many of the things that have happened for the Bronx in the last couple of years, and some of them I'd like to take credit and say they've happened since I've become speaker, but I'm not going to be that disingenuous. A lot of good work that was happening for the Bronx since he became governor. So it's very important to have him as a partner. A lot of times that when I've gone to him, and as I do, I love all 62 counties, but people have been kind to let me boastfully say that one county is always going to be first in my heart, and that's the Bronx. And so every time, thank you. And so every time I actually have gone to the governor and I said that these things are needed for the Bronx, he has actually opened up his heart and the state's wallet as well to make sure that the Bronx is taken care of. So to come and congratulate him on the initiative today and wanting to really tackle the challenge that young people of color, particularly young men of color, are going through, I think is absolutely tremendous. So I want to give the governor a big round of applause, for doing that. And here we are, looking at another initiative around young people and bringing jobs to young people. And as the borough president talked about bringing unemployment from 14 down to 6, that's very good, and we're great and we're happy, but 6% unemployment is still too high, and that means we still have a lot more work to do. But I think that we're moving in the right direction. Everybody's heart's in the right place, and I think we're starting to move and think out of the box, because I even think decades ago people's hearts were in the right place, but I think we have to start to do things a little differently, and I think we've had the ability to do that, and I believe that that's going to continue to happen with Governor Andrew Cuomo at the helm here in the state. So again, I want to thank him for having this initiative, and I want to thank him for concentrating particularly on the Bronx, because it makes my job a little easier, because then I don't have all the elected officials always clamoring to me. They get to ask the governor for things as well. So Governor, again, I want to thank you for stepping up for the Bronx. So with that being said, I'm going to welcome the borough president back up to give us some more direction. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's give the Speaker a strong round of applause. State Senator Serrano. Let's give all of the elected officials from the Bronx who have been working together a strong round of applause. Mr. Governor, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for having the Bronx in your heart. The fact is that this initiative that we speak of today is going to provide an additional $30 million in tax credit to businesses that hire at-risk youth. And of course, another part of the initiative is to make sure that non-for-profits, to release several hundred thousands of dollars to non-for-profits that can help our youth and prepare them to go out into the workforce. We want to thank all of you, not just for coming out here today, but we want to thank you for working with us. We want to thank you for investing in our borough. We want to thank you for believing in us. And the fact is that because of all of us and so many people outside of this cafeteria, the Bronx is booming, the Bronx is back, the Bronx is beautiful. And to the governor, you exemplify the fact and the notion that it matters who's in office. It really does. It matters who's at the helm. And so with that, Mr. Governor, would you please come over here? The time has come for the governor to sign the initiative into law.